Mm. It's a bit
You got
distant.
what
I
there?
don't
We're
like.
live.
We're live.
Officially live first time. New Curation podcast. Hello, Caitlin. No, timed that well.
Hello, Callum.
I'm Callum. This
I'm
is Caitlin.
Caitlin.
This is going well. I think the fans are getting what they came for. 56 minutes late, but we're here live. Just want to explain what this is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it came from I wanted to watch more films this year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know if I told you this, but I wanted to watch
No,
more films, and decided that I would like try and structure what I was watching into like curated, so I wouldn't just watch random. Because I think I had frustration with watching random films, and it felt a bit like, why am I just watching a random? I knew I wanted to watch more film history, but didn't know like which ones to watch, or like there was no order to it. So I had to try and start ordering it. And I was like, why would I do that? Why don't I just get other people to do that for me? Then
Obviously.
So anyway, got a bunch of modern day. I won't say that. We'll cut that part.
I don't even know what you were going to say.
Well, that's probably the best.
No, go on.
No. We're live. It would be inappropriate. I don't want to like ruin my live career before it's begun.
Okay.
Anyway, so.
So we got some freelance journalists.
Yes, we did. That's a better way of putting it. Yeah. And so our first one, Patrick Dalziel, is curated an Italian Giallo series for us and our lovely fans that all definitely exist. Yeah, so I mean, this is very much like a work in progress, in case that was painfully unobvious. But yeah, so we're gonna try and do these every week, every Thursday, and just watch a film, talk about it. Hopefully it will get a bit more fluid as we go on, I think. And next week we'll have Patrick, the curator, with us to instill some, knowledge and professionalism or something like that. I keep looking, because we're there, I keep looking there, but actually our live audience of 0. It's good, it tells you, isn't it? Just keeps you updated. 0 watching, 0 likes.
Cool.
So it's only up from
Only
here,
up
really.
From here.
Okay. So maybe just talk about Neon Eye.
Yeah.
Do you want to? So I mean, Neon Eye film production. You know this film.
Yeah. What? Just who we are and what we do? Or...
Caitlin, what is Neon Eye?
Well, Callum, that's a good question.
Impossible, because it's called the Neon Eye Curation podcast, but I don't know what Neon Eye is.
Well, Neon Eye is a film production company.
Yeah.
Based in Edinburgh.
Right. That's where I'm from.
Is it?
Oh. Well, I live now. Anyway, do tell.
Yeah, film production company. And we make videos for companies, businesses, for their social media.
Sounds vague. What's your niche?
Oh.
Just kidding.
I love that question. What sort of films?
What sort of films?
And then we also just do our own thing, make our own films, videos.
Curation podcast.
Curation podcast.
Right. Well, that explains it pretty concisely and well.
Thanks.
Good job.
Hint of sarcasm there.
There was no sarcasm.
No, it's fine.
So we could talk about. So we just watched Blood and Black Lace. Like, dislike?
I actually did quite like it. I didn't think I would like it.
No, I like your honesty. No, it's good. You just haven't said this before.
Oh. It happens quite a lot, actually. Didn't think I would like it. Did actually quite like it. It was a bit ridiculous, but I was on the edge of my seat a little bit.
Why did you think you weren't going to like it?
Just because I didn't think like it's supposed to be a horror film, and I didn't really think I'd find it scary. I think I just thought I would find it a bit silly, which it was.
Yeah,
but sort of in a good way.
It was kind of supposed to be a silly a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, is it?
I
Is
think
it
so.
supposed to be
Yeah, I
silly?
would say so.
Right. Okay.
It definitely takes itself kind of seriously in places as well, though, because you have, I mean, the actual. We should say spoilers because we're gonna. The idea again, just to recap exactly how this will work. We want to do curation series, so the Italian Giallo stuff is all on the website, so you can read the intro to that, and then there's an intro to each film. So this week's Blood and Black Lace, and next week is Your Voice. Well, there's a supplementary film, The Bird with the Crystal
Plumage.
Thanks, darling. And then so that's like one that there's an entry for that you can watch in your own time, and next week the one we'll be talking about is Your Vice Lotrum and Only I Have the Key.
What a silly title.
What really rolls off the tongue. So yeah, so basically for this one we'll be talking, the idea is the podcast will come at the end, so Thursday at 8. So the idea is you watch and read before, and then we'll talk about it with spoilers. We can catch up later. So anyway, that's what we're doing now for Blood and Black Lace. So we're saying, I think whether it was silly or not, because there were bits. I mean, the actual killings, they really didn't piss around getting to them as well. Really threw you straight in there.
Yeah.
But
I quite like that about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. What's interesting though is like in films like this, you might often expect them to like do one killing and then it's like suspense. You know, they really just were like
it's just
like knocking them off.
Dead.
It's a pretty good way of putting it.
Don't know how many deaths are.
Quite a few. So yeah, I don't know whether it was meant to be how seriously it was taking itself, because the killings were kind of like
It was a bit like playing the game Cluedo.
In the basement with the fiery bell.
Is that what it was? Bell.
It was a bell, I think.
Oh, that made me wince. That was horrible.
Yeah, that one's not good. I found the I don't even know what it was, but that thing with the 3 hooks.
Yeah, I don't know.
Was it from the coat of armor?
Maybe, possibly. But what did he do with it?
He just like hooked her face with it, didn't he? One thing, getting a bit hard hitting already. One thing I was thinking while I was watching it is like, how do you think it is from like a gender perspective? Because it was like a bit like chasing around scantily dressed women.
Yeah, I think Patrick might have.
Yeah, he
written this.
Did touch on this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of interesting, I suppose, because they kept calling. Was it like a sex?
A sex maniac.
A sex maniac after these attractive women. But then, I suppose it's sort of interesting that the woman was like the person who comes out top almost.
I think that's a good point.
And that she was the one who, like, she killed him in the end, and outsmarted the man in a way, which is interesting. I don't know if that was intentional. Or...
Yeah, I think it. I think it was. I think it might be. I would probably need to. But Patrick did touch on this, and that there is a bit of a debate. I don't know whether it was the intro for this one. I have a feeling it might be the intro for Your Voice. Because I read that. I did the editing for that one this week, because that one's fresh in my mind. But they talk about how in Giallo there's a kind of or there's a sort of academic debate about whether they're kind of empowering for women and portray women in a sort of empowering light, or is quite like oppressive and sort of.
Yeah, when I was watching, I was thinking about that because in the film as well, I know it's like silly little things, but the women driving the cars on their own at night, going home and living on their own and whatever. I think in other films of that time, you probably wouldn't get stuff like that. I don't know. So there was that part of it. I was like, yeah. Some of it doesn't feel like it is, I don't know what the right word would be.
I know what you mean
Yeah.
about it seems more progressive.
Yeah, but then obviously other parts of it, it's like.
But in some ways, I mean, I don't think it's going to be for a film that's made, and I think it's 62. I think so that's like a long time ago. So you'd think a film that is going to be like a bit misogynistic or sexist or whatever. So I think like it did pretty well, I would say. I think if you give it the interpretation that I think that kind of what you're saying, that when the woman comes out on top in a sense, and how I think it almost, and Patrick definitely touches on this in his, I think it's in his Your Vice one, but he talks about how, it's the woman being killed you're almost watching it, oh, they're just killing like women, and it's this masked man, this sex maniac just killing women. And then it kind of, you're disgusted, and then it kind of subverts it by it then being it is a man as well, but it actually being a woman as well. I think, or that it's like it's not about sex; it's purely financially driven.
Yeah,
I think they're definitely trying to set it up where you are thinking that it's like, oh god, it's like sort of kind of indulging sort of like sexist men a bit, and like showing off like this killer as like this, sex maniac. And then it's sort of like, actually no, it was purely driven by like, well, it was still kind of like a guy's ego and money and that sort of stuff. But she was involved too, and then she was like you said, that she was the one who came out on top. I thought it was quite interesting in that sense. What was your favourite death?
Favorite death? What were the deaths again?
So the first one was pretty tame. It was just a little strangulation in the woods.
Oh yeah, didn't like that one.
Then there was the hook face, I think.
I didn't really like that one. That was silly. That was the silliest one.
That was a bit silly, yeah. You call them out.
I think the one that made me like feel the most.
The bell.
Yeah, the bell, when he like burns her hand and then burns her eyes, or she burns her hand.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh no, he.
Wait, which one was it?
He does it to her, and then she hides the body in the boot.
Yeah, right. I do think that there was like a lot of these bits where it was a bit like, first of all, I liked how he was really good at explaining the plot. Like he'd be like, yes, and then I did this, and it was pretty evil. Yeah, like when after it was like revealed that they were the killers, that he just did this whole like monologue where it was like, and then I did this and this, and you're probably wondering how that happened. Well, I did this. Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. But there was the other bit that was a bit like, I mean, they kind of almost pulled it off, but the bit, where he somehow conspires to kill her.
Yeah.
By loosening the drain pipe.
Yeah, is that what that was?
Yeah. So he clipped the drain pipe off, so that when she would like,
how did he know that?
Well, so then they tried to sort of justify at the end by like, because earlier on he said like, if you get scared, go to the ledge. To go up to the ledge.
I missed that bit.
And then she said at the end, she was like, I loved how kind of exposition it was. And then he was like, and you knew that I would go to the ledge, and that's why you cut the thing, in case you missed it.
Okay, right. I didn't put those two together.
It did have this kind of theme of like, really want to make it crystal clear.
Yeah.
It's it's almost a bit of a trope of murder mystery. It's like the Poirot pacing around, and then in the basement, you lit the bell light. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think it?
Sorry.
Go. No, you go.
I don't really know how interesting I found the dialogue there.
It's quite. In what way? How do you mean?
I don't know. I think it was more interesting visually than it was in terms of actually what they were saying.
I think Patrick described it as melodramatic, which I think is quite a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
To the point where you almost feel a bit. It's almost a bit of a farce, the whole thing. So that no one feels that real.
I think that's what it was. Nothing felt. The only person who felt kind of real was probably the detective.
Yeah, he was like definitely toxically masculine. If we got another few scenes with it. I love when he put the sunglasses on and the like took the sunglasses off.
Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you about. The scene where all the men were like lined up.
Oh yeah, I like the shot that they got of that. And then the men had a fight, of course it is. Yeah. I thought the gender stuff was like actually pretty interesting. And you could definitely sense a bit of like, I think like masculine, like men are detectives. And I think something else that, so I was going to say as well with your previous point, the melodrama I think is almost like a quite deliberate kind of meant to make it a bit silly and camp, you know, how they're all a bit like, oh, you know. And
well, do you think that about the guy who had the panic attack or the epileptic? I thought it was panic attack rather than an epileptic fit. I was like,
well, he was a cocaine addict though, wasn't he?
Right, okay.
Supposed to do with that as well.
Right, okay, yeah.
But he became kind of inconsequential, didn't he?
He seemed I don't know if he was just made to seem suspicious.
Yeah. And really the Patrick's thing is coming back to me as I'm thinking about this, which is probably a good sign. But he was saying as well that there are lots of like red herrings in these films because it's very much about leading you on the plot, I think.
Because you know when I asked you who you think it was, who you thought it was, at that point I was like, oh, maybe it is that woman with the short black hair, the one who's going off to Paris.
Oh,
I think because nothing seems that real. I was like, oh, it definitely could be her because
I know what you mean.
It doesn't feel like they're really trying to hide anything.
Yeah, it really felt like they were kind of stringing you along where it could be anyone until there was that notebook and the they love those shots. There's like 10 of them, wasn't there? Remember, my favorite one was when I always love it when they do it for when an object. They do it in all sorts of films. You know, it's quite when an object disappears, and so they're just doing this weird shot, but it's just an empty space. So out of context, it just looks so ridiculous.
Is that when the shadow?
No, it was when
the handbag.
Yeah, the handbag. But I loved it when because also what's funny about it was they just wheeled some like dresses past that it was like on like a table. And I imagine if you missed that the handbag was there, not that you could because they made such a point. Everyone was looking at that handbag. They were so obsessed with. And it was like someone's eyes and to the handbag.
No, what were you laughing at when it was in that silly murder in the house?
Silly murder.
Where the lights are flashing and the guy's there and then
because that seems to be like some sort of technical problem. I don't know whether that was in the original or the restoration. Probably in the original they tried their best to fix it, but you could see very clear. So the shot I'm talking about is the one where like the flashing and then the lights go complete darkness and then complete light and he's there and then complete darkness again, and the idea is you're like thinking like he's going to disappear, but you can like see it goes like almost complete darkness and then like he just like pops away. It was like, huh,
where's he gone?
Where are you gone? That's interesting because that was it was interesting we watched the Blu-ray, the sort of 2K restorated version, and they were saying at the start about how the process and they fixed a lot of they're talking about the audio and pops and those kind of things. Quite interesting. Sounds like quite an arduous process. But yeah, it looked really good. The visuals are cool.
Yeah, it did look really good actually.
And I think it was very crisp in the Blu-ray as well. Yeah, I like it's another big. So I've seen Suspiria. That's the only Giallo I've seen, and it's. I mean, the production design. So the set and the
Mhm.
colours and all that is very similar. If you
Oh.
if you saw two shots, you could believe they're from the same film
Oh,
because
right.
it's so there's just always that often like a female protagonist as
Mhm.
well, and then just this background that's drenched in bright colours.
I think Patrick described it as neon. He said it was
Neon,
like
it's quite
neon
neon.
kind of.
And it's interesting. He made a good point as well. Again, I think it was in the. It was actually it definitely was. It was in the Blood and Blackface one about how films like the Neon Demon, Raw, The Love Witch. I've seen the first and the last one. Have the same visual style. I wouldn't say. I'm trying to think. So Neon Demon is a bit like neon, like you're saying, obviously. Drive isn't quite. Drive's a bit different, I would say, but Neon Demon it's got those really bright backgrounds. It's just the way it's lit is it's very specific to Giallo that you can see has been carried through.
Right.
And it creates it does create a kind of otherworldly, it's almost a bit alien.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Because you kind of had no idea really where they were in that film. There was no context to it other than the studio.
Yeah.
And then the weird house, but even the houses you went into were kind of strange. Like huge Italian townhouses.
Yeah.
For these girls who are like models or whatever.
Yeah. And they had that weird shot as well when they were like just before the famous handbag scene where they were like all getting ready in each changing room and the camera was like going in between. It looked really cool.
Yeah,
and
that was cool.
You could see each person getting ready and you're kind of following someone go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. Blood and Blackface.
Why that name?
I think so. I think that Isabella was wearing a blackface dress and then blood.
Why did they kill Isabella again?
Yeah, so that was one that they really tried to exposition towards the end. So I think that it was because they say something like they killed her husband.
Yeah, so she didn't kill him though, because the girl was the first person she'd killed.
Yeah,
so
yeah. He killed the husband.
Right.
I don't know why I missed that.
Yeah, to have money.
But that was it? Maybe.
So that he could marry her?
No, because they killed Isabella's husband, didn't they?
No, they killed the woman who owns the studio, or who runs the studio.
Right, that makes so much more
sense. She's the widow.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I didn't get that. Yeah. Right, with you. They killed her husband, and then I remember them saying like she thought she was the only witness to an otherwise perfect crime. Isabella did. So she kept asking for more and more money because she was a witness to the crime.
Right, okay.
So they were like, can't be dealing with you with all this information. Gonna just whack you.
Right.
So they whacked her, but in doing so, it was all fine, and the diary appeared. And who was it? Peggy or whatever the name was. Someone found the diary. And
the girl, they didn't want anyone else to read the diary in case Isabella had written in the diary about the murder.
Yeah, everyone had some dark secret in that diary.
Right, okay, yeah. Right, that makes
People
sense.
were kind of afraid of, who was it that burnt the diary?
Peggy.
And because what was in there about her wasn't that bad, was it?
The money?
Did she borrow money? Did she think that was gonna maybe risk her being accused of?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Huge spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully everyone's. We've got one viewer.
Hi.
Hello, one viewer.
Who are you?
Mysterious. Do ask questions if you have any.
No likes though.
No, not enjoying it.
Thumbs down.
It's
so
quite...
people can ask questions and then we reply.
I bet it's. I wonder who it is. Yeah, so that's the idea. When we get
Let us
our,
know who you are.
yeah,
Single.
we can see your comments. We've got top chat selected. It's empty, so populate it, please. It's quite distracting the way that, because I feel like I should be looking down the lens when I
Oh
look.
wait, who is it?
Bruno.
It's Bruno.
Hi, Bruno. I
Hi,
think you're
Bruno.
about
You can
five
come in.
5 meters away. Do you want to join? Have you seen Blood and Black Lace?
Oh, I want him to come in now.
Bruno, come in.
Bruno.
This is Liv.
Hello.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, I think we're coming to it. We're winding it down.
Yeah. Yeah, probably all we have time for, isn't it? Really,
Yeah.
it's such a shame. I've stolen the account. Subscribe to some raunchy channels. That'll shock him. Subscribe to some. Don't know.
Go on.
No, I'm not putting my foot in it again.
Go on, suggest some channels. I think we've gone off topic.
Yeah. Well, our one fan is enjoying it.
And
Not liked it yet. Oh, yeah. So everyone involved is in this building. It's good to know. We're broadcasting to the globe, just so that's clear. There really is no boundary. Just in case anyone's worried about that, you don't have to be logged onto our Wi-Fi to access this stream.
Oh dear.
Oh, they liked it though.
Oh, thanks.
Thank
you.
That is 100% like grade.
Is that what that gets?
That is, yeah, gold star for us.
Thank you, Liv.
So, hi, it's me now. I've just liked it. Oh, it's Bruno.
Aw, thank you, Bruno.
I'm sorry for the disruption. Nah, it's good. It's the highlight of the stream.
Yeah. This is good publicity for us, Bruno. So don't you
spread
say
the word.
sorry. I
Might
keep
get-
looking there instead of that.
Yeah, me too. I'm staring at it actually.
Mm,
Maybe next time we could get it like more next to it or something like that.
yeah.
I feel awkward like looking down.
What do you think people's response would be to a film like that if it came out now in the cinemas?
Good question. Well, it's interesting because I was kind of saying, well, also Patrick made a point about this in his article about how, you know, the Neon Demon, Raw, Love Witch are kind of that style, but almost, I think, I can't remember exactly what word he used, but almost more like brutalized or modernized and kind of made a bit more gritty. It feels, I think you made the point earlier that the dialogue feels weird and off. I think that it's so melodramatic that it would feel a bit. I don't think it would go down terribly. I just mean that it seems that feels dated and not necessarily in a bad way. It would seem odd for a film today to do something that melodramatic. Films these days seem so like they're trying to be very sincere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or at least trying to be. I don't know. Or there's a different way because I don't. It's interesting whether that film, Blood and Black Lace, do you think it was trying to be sincere with its melodrama? Or...
No, probably not.
Yeah, I don't know because we get ask Patrick that one next week. Yeah. But I think that it's possible that I think it's possible that it was just kind of being a bit silly and because I mean Giallo is their B movies. They're meant to be just for fun. You know? You're meant to enjoy the thrill of figuring out who the killer is, the sort of enjoy the scenes and the way they get killed. And so that yeah, a bit dark, but I'm just saying historically that's what it was. I'm not saying I enjoy it, of course. Yeah. Anyway. I love the bell bit though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I could see that it would be sincere as well. And that's I find it hard to believe that there isn't a bit of deliberate intention for it to be kind of like silly. I think it's definitely trying to be a bit silly. I just think it's maybe trying to be more sincere than we would take a film that were released like that now to be. I think the film today, so like I haven't seen it, but I've heard The Love Witch is quite, it's almost that style, but is a comedy because it's kind of so a bit silly, and it's kind of overdoing it, but it's almost overdoing. I've not seen it, so I can't comment too much. But being like super silly and melodramatic to the point where it's obviously a satirization. What do you think about today?
I don't think I would go and watch it.
Would you not?
No.
Put it in blacklist. Well, they remade Suspiria.
Yeah.
And that one looked much grittier. So there seems to be a trend for them to.
Maybe I would now that I've seen this though.
Yeah.
Just because
I
don't
want
know
to
enough
convert
about
you
the genre.
to Giallo horror by the end of this.
I did actually like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I did like it.
Just
I'll watch next week's.
Yeah. You'll watch all of them. You know what's good for you. Okay.
I'll be bell burnt.
Yeah. I'll be getting the big bell installed in the office. It'll all make sense in a week.
Oh god.
Right. Any closing remarks?
Where can people watch it if they haven't already watched it?
I'm glad you asked. So this is being broadcast live. However, it will remain on our channel, edited, remove some of the comments, and this is such a not concise answer. I'm just going to start again and probably like cut all of that out as well. Basically, wow, what a great question, Caitlin. It will be broadcast. It's being broadcast live, and an edited version will be on our YouTube channel, which I'll also link to on our website, and we will share on our social medias, which you can follow on us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
LinkedIn
if that's your jam. Yeah, it's just Neon Eye. I can't remember what all their ats are.
No, this
just
Neon Eye.
Neon Eye.
You'll
and
find the link.
The website's neoneye.co.uk, which is where the whole series and future series will be published. Subscribe to this channel.
To the link above.
Yeah,
subscribe.
Here. It's right here. Just click that. That'll do it. But yeah, I think that's.
And it's also funny because I actually meant where can people watch the film if they haven't already.
Oh wow!
It. Not us.
Really want to go trip there.
But all useful information.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it? People might want to watch us. We've got 1 like and 1 view.
He's still viewing.
He's
Thank
still
you.
going. Thanks, Bruno. Woo!
Do you want to tell people where they can watch?
Yeah, it's the thing they actually care about.
That.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy it. We watched the Blu-ray. You can get that too if you want. There's probably a DVD version as well. It's also, if you go on the website, not a plug, just a fact. Go on the website, neoneye.co.uk. There's a link to where you can watch it on YouTube for £2.50, I think. So not bad.
Pretty decent.
Pretty good for an evening's entertainment. And then you can tune in. Well, you've already seen this if you've made it this far. But I think all of them, in fact, Inside Secret, I think, is quite a lot of this series is you can actually get for free on YouTube.
All right.
I know that.
The next one you can get on YouTube that we're watching, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
so Your Vice is a Lot Room and Only I Have the Key will be podcasting this time next week.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea, if you want to, is to watch that before this time next week, and you can read Patrick's thing beforehand to give you a kind of introduction to it. It's free on YouTube. There's a link on the website. If you want to watch the supplementary one, that's The Bird with the Crystal
Plumage,
as it's obviously said. Yeah, and so that one is also, I couldn't find it on YouTube for free, but that one you can watch. I mean, have a look, it might be on there. That one you can watch again. All of these, or most of these, are on YouTube, movies, or Amazon Prime, that kind of thing. So they can be bought for like £2, £2.50. Some of them are on YouTube for free though, so do have a look. But yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed this.
Thanks, viewer.
Scintillating. Yeah, thanks, Bruno. And we'll be back this time next week to talk
Hopefully
about...
earlier.
Yes,
8
we'll be on time. We'll probably be in a different location. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a giant thing.
I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.